Alright guys, now we are going to jump into graphing our inequalities. We just learned how to write them. Now we are going to learn how to graph them. But before we get into that, I want to give you guys a note that it is possible for an inequality to have more than one solution. To have more than one solution. So the set of solutions, or all of the possible solutions of an inequality, is called a solution set, which makes sense because it is a set of solutions. So we are graphing the solution set of an inequality. So again, the symbols that we're using, you guys, are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. All right. So when graphing inequalities with the less than or greater than symbol, we're going to use what's called an open circle. And again, we're graphing on a number line, so I'll show you guys what I'm talking about in just a second. And when graphing inequalities with less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we're going to use a closed circle. The open and closed circle will signify whether that number on the number line is part of a solution for the inequality. Let's go ahead and look at some examples. So we're going to graph each inequality. So example A says y is greater than or equal, y is less than or equal to -3. So let me just draw my number line real quick. All right. Let's go ahead and look at the sign that we're using first. So we see that our sign is less than or equal to. So when we're graphing less than or equal to, we're going to go ahead and use a closed circle on the number that it's telling us. So on -3, we're going to put a closed circle. And since it is less than -3, we're going to shade the number line that is less than -3. So this is saying that 3 or -3 is a solution to whatever inequality we had. So it's saying y is less than or equal to -3. So any number that is less than or equal to -3 is a solution to that inequality. Let's look at another one. We have 2 is less than x, or we can rearrange this and say that x is greater than 2. Let me draw my number line. All right. Again, let's look at our sign that we have. Let's look at this sign. X is greater than 2. So we have greater, so we're going to go ahead and use an open circle. That means that 2 is not going to be included in the solution set. Since X is greater than 2, we can go ahead and shade all of the numbers on the number line that are greater than 2. Again, X is only greater than 2 and it does not include 2. That's why we use the open circle. Let's go ahead and look at one more example. So we have X is greater than 0. Again, our sign is greater than, and whenever graphing a greater than, we're going to use an open circle, which signifies that this number is not part of our solution. So I'm going to go ahead and put an open circle on 0. And since X is greater than 0, I'm going to go ahead and shade our number line to the right because those numbers are greater than 0. Go ahead and pause and rewind this video as many times as you need to before you go on with me. Alright guys, we are almost done. We just have one more thing to look at. So when we were graphing, we were given our inequality and we graphed it. Now our goal is to be able to look at a graph and be able to write the inequality that it represents. So let's look at an example of that. So the following graphs will show height restrictions, on 2 rides at an amusement park. We're gonna write the inequality that is represented by the graph. All right, so ride A, their graph looks a little bit like this. And what their graph looks like is we have a closed circle on 48 inches. And we're gonna, and it's shaded to the right. Height H. Since we have a closed circle and it's shaded to the right, that must mean greater than, and this closed circle tells us or equal to. So we know that our sign is greater than or equal to. Our variable is h since we are dealing with height restrictions. And our closed circle is at 48. So we know for this ride A, your height restriction is you have to be greater than or equal to 48 inches to ride A. So again, we are shaded to the right, tells us greater than. The closed circle tells us or equal to. So H is greater than or equal to 48 inches. Now let's look at ride B. Ride B looks a little bit different. So we have 52. All right, for ride B, we have a graph that looks like this. So again, we are shading to the left, which tells us less than. And notice we have an open circle at 52. That means that 52 is not part of the solution set. So we are simply just less than 52. So H is less than 52. So the height restriction is you have to be less than 52 inches to get onto ride B. If you are 52 inches, you can't get on ride B because the solution set is only for everything less than 52.